Hello, everybody. I thought I was going to give a talk. It's going to be improvisation, so I hope the judges are not here anymore because they were very tough. So, my name is Heriberto. I'm helping teams in the part of acceleration. And before we continue, I would like to tell you, like, you guys are amazing. You have incredible technologies and great ideas. But if I can leave you with 1 cent of thought, is like, you all have to think that you're not building a product, you're building a company. And when you're going to be speaking with mentors, investors, and trying to pitch your company, you have to realize that many times the people who is in front of you, the people who's going to give you the prices or who are going to give you the money and investment, they don't care about your technology. They only care that what you're doing is going to be a profitable business. So always have this in mind. A product and your technology has to be always connected with finances, market validation, and a team who can execute. And with that in mind, I just want you to tell you, like, if you got any questions or you would like to know more about
well,
how
the America's
we can
Cup, it's the oldest sporting trophy
forward
in
into
the world
that, come
today,
to talk to me. I think I can give you some advices and support you in that. Thank you very much. And
once you get involved with the America's Cup,
there you go.
develop
So
a
that's my
passion
talk.
for
So I just need a
trying to
clicker.
win
So
it.
start again.
Coming up, 10 degrees south.
So, hello again,
my
everybody.
name is Brett Ellis, and I'm project manager.
There's something
and
we have to be
lead engineer
aware.
for
We're living in an era
paddleboards
of
and
connected
rudders.
services. Everything right now is connected. And when
Sailing's
products are
been
connected,
in my
everything
blood
is
since I
about
grew
the
up,
services.
and I
And
think
what
the America's
does
Cup
it mean?
is at the-
It means that
at the
hardware
forefront.
has
It's the
become
F1 of
central to
sailing,
innovation.
so to be
You cannot do
involved in
any
it,
software as a
that's a big
service. You cannot do
attraction.
anything if you don't
And
have
the tools
something
that we
physical to
use
connect.
are at the forefront of the
Then
industry.
connected services are going to create new experiences.
You know,
We
we're
get new
working to
markets,
tight
new ideas are going to
tolerances
be
and small
generating
differences in
amazing
section
things.
shapes on
We get the
paddleboards
internet and we get all the
can lead to
computational
relatively
power
big
before,
gains
but
on
we
water.
never thought about blockchain until a few years now.
Next
ago.
year you'll see
And then
these
these new businesses are going to build great experiences. And I want you to remember, businesses are what is important here. The connected hardware is the third wave of the internet. I'm not just saying it, there are a lot of experts saying it. The future is connected according to McKinsey Global. The investors are hard driving towards the innovation and connected hardware, like Mark Anderson. And the CEO of SoftBank has just put $32 billion in acquisitions of hardware companies. So all of you, this is a question that I ask to a lot of audiences that are not hardware. You guys maybe are well aware of that. But what would you design if you're asked to reimagine everything with connectivity involved? The opportunities are endless. So we can imagine, right? But there's a little problem. Innovation in hardware is difficult and it's complex. Iterating is hardware. Some of the judges here were asking very harsh questions to you guys, and I think that is important for you guys to understand that. If you are developing a product, you cannot just, oh, we're gonna do it as an update of the air. That doesn't work in hardware. You have to think about the future. Being wrong is extremely expensive, extremely expensive. Just changing one little detail has a ripple effect that goes all the way onto the upstream of the supply chain. And then, in the case of hardware, the business models matter a lot. We were speaking with some teams who had amazing products, but they don't have the cash to develop it. And they said, like, oh, my product is amazing. Yes, but if you cannot make it, doesn't make sense at all. So what you have to do is create a service, create a community who is supporting you, who wants to get your product, and after that, go and build the product. So manufacturing is 100 times more difficult if you're building many of them than if you're just building one. And it comes to here. I will assure you that all of you here are in this stage. You get an idea and you get a prototype and you want to make a profitable business. Who wants to be a unicorn? Really? Only 4 people? Do you know what's a unicorn? Unicorn is like Facebook, Google, like these companies who grow exponentially. So once again, who wants to be a unicorn? There you go, okay. So how do we reach this point? Well, we have to be well aware of what is called the value of the dead. You start to do like a prototype is hard, but it's easy relatively. And then when you want to build a company, you want to build 1,000 or 1,000,000 of these units, that's when the problem comes. You know, you want to do plastic injection. Do you know how much it costs to get one mold? It's around 50 to 70,000 US dollars just to get one mold. And what happens if you do it wrong? You just wasted 70,000 US dollars. Do you have this amount of money to waste? No, right? I always say that as a startup, you have no opportunities. There's not like, oh, I got one opportunity and I have to make it mine. No, you have none. You have to create your opportunity. And that's why we think that in order to go to a profitable business, you have to consider design and the validation, a go-to-market strategy, and design for manufacturability. So when you get all of these, you can gap the process and you can create a profitable business. So coming back to design for manufacturability, that was Simon here and I were doing outside with some of you guys. You got the wrong impression of what is DFM. You think that it's a structure is like R&D, DFM, manufacturing, and then you get the product of your company. You got a discovery, you got customer development, product development, manufacturing, and then you go to market. This is not how it works. What you do is you get discovery and you start to work in customer development. And while you're doing that, you start to think about DFX. X stands for everything. Then DFX is not a phase, it's a guideline of decisions. Then when you're building a new hardware product, you have to be always considering. So while you're doing that, you're jumping on from DFX to product development, customer development, and manufacturing. All of these are joined together in order to go forward and get a go-to-market strategy. Then what I was telling you when I didn't know I had a presentation is you have to remember you are not building a product. Well, yes, you are, but you're building a company based on a product. And in order to do that, you have to remember cash flows, you have employees. So, for example, one of the top 3 mistakes that are made on DFM are choose a component without understanding its lead time and life cycle. Startups have on average 6 months of a runaway. Some components, just the lead time is 16 weeks. That means 4 months. Do you have the capability of stand 4 months just waiting for the component to come to you? No, because you have to pay salaries, you have to pay the rent, you have to feed yourself. So if you don't pay attention to these details, your company is dead even before you started to manufacturing. Another one, not taking tooling into consideration when doing mechanical designs or not designing in a way that you can simplify the tooling. 3D printing is amazing for prototyping, but 3D printing can do things that common tooling cannot do for plastic injection molding. So I was telling you, it's around 50 to 70,000 US dollars to do some tooling, right? And then you go to, for example, the tooling, it takes around 1 month to do. So it's 1 month that you have to wait until you have the first tooling. You spend $50,000, and what happens if it's wrong? So you have to always be thinking about this. You have to do risk analysis on every stage of your product development. Then not thinking about how to test the product reliability and test the production line. Manufacturing means that you are creating something and you can ship it. So if you haven't tested the product reliability or the production line, you haven't completed DFM. There are a lot of companies or a lot of people say like, oh yeah, DFM, these are the CAD files, there you go, that's it. That's, sorry for the word, but that's a lie. What you really need to do is working with the manufacturing. That's why the DFM, manufacturing. You have to be working with the manufacturer to understand how you have to be doing that. If you guys just follow these little advices, you're going to realize that at the end your product is going to be much more easy to go to the market and to get a business strategy. Then another one is the go-to-market. I spoke with a lot of teams here today, and they said like, yeah, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to sell it. To whom? You got a B2C, B2B, B2B2C. So B2C is the normal people, like I come and I sell you my iPhone and everything is like nice and easy in a sense, but at the same time are the most demanding. It's like, oh, I want it green, I want it purple, I want it in a different color, I don't like this. You can do and fund yourself with crowdfunding. It has shorter sales cycles, so people just go and it's like, oh, I want the phone and I just bought it. And it's a numbers game. You can get the highest amount of clients. Then you got B2B, business to business. So is IBM, it was IBM here. Maybe at the end IBM wants to buy your product and they say like, oh, that's great. Let's talk about it. And she's like, yes, I closed with IBM. No. If you manage to get into the next stage, it should be like maybe 4, 6 months, and then you go to the next person, and it's another 6 months, and you keep going and going until you close a sales. It's amazing because you get IBM as a customer, for example, but it takes a lot of time, and you need to keep your company alive during these sales cycles. It's a smaller market. If you're selling to companies, there are not many companies who are B2B. So for example, coming back to IBM, you go and there's one IBM, maybe you can go with Dell computers or Apple, different ones. But it's like a very small group who has deep pockets. But it's a huge, huge opportunity for you as a company. In comparison with B2C, you get millions and billions of people who can buy your product. Then we got B2B2C. That is great because you can do B2B and you can do B2C and you can do B2B2C. So you get the advantages of both, but at the same time you have the problems of both. So you have to be well aware who is going to be your market and know how to address it. And I know that we don't have a lot of time, so I just want to jump, and many of you might have some questions, so feel free to ask some questions before we continue. So, any questions? Sure. So B2B2C means business to business to customer. So it can be done like, for example, I am selling, let's see, I got this wearable watch, right? So this is capturing my heart rate. So I'm selling it to everybody who wants to, this is a Garmin. So I just sell it to these people in the store. And Garmin is going to be buying in the store, and I get my Garmin and get the data. But me as Garmin, I can go to this hospital and I say like, hey, I'm selling you this watch, so you give it to all your patients. So you can control what your patients are doing. So that way you have a B2B2C. You at the end are taking care of the customers through the hospital. So this is something that you can be doing. So you get two different sales channels. Sorry? Exactly, yes. So that's what I was saying. Like that's a really easy, that's the advantages. You get two markets that you can address. But at the same time, you get two markets that you have to support, and you have to be well aware that maybe sometimes you're going to have clashes. The hospital is going to tell you like, I don't want it black, I want it white, and I don't want these ripples because they're like unhealthy. But the market is going to tell me like, oh, I want it to be purple and like with cool designs. So you have to be able to understand that it comes with strengths and its weaknesses. Sorry, I don't hear you. Exactly, yes. So like you have to be aware that the same product can be sold to a company, and the company is going to sell it to the customers, or you can sell it directly to the customers, and at the same time it's the same product, but you can have some differences, right? Yeah, sure.
I have heard of DFM and DFT also, design for testability.
For?
Testability.
Okay, so a DFM is design for manufacturing, and it's just helping you to manufacture. We can also have design for assembly, design for maintenance, design. So that's why we call it DFX, because X stands for whatever you want, and it's something that you have to be well aware. Like if you're doing some design for safety, for example, right? You have to design that it's something safety. So anything that has to be considered, that's what you call like DFX. Okay, so just think of something that can affect your product, and then you just start designing towards it. So like the most common is assembly, design for disassembly, sorry, design for manufacturing, design for maintenance, design for safety. Am I missing something? Oh, design for shipping, yeah, logistics, design for shipping. So like, for example, the package that is irregular, like it may be beautiful, but then you have to pay much more to ship that, right? Any more questions? Okay. Well, anyhow, if, oh, there you go, see? Yes. Well, that's why you have to be considering the who is going to be your target market, and that's why I'm coming back to. You're not designing a product; you're designing a whole company, and for that you have to understand that who is your market. So, for example, and this is an amazing example, is like you get the iPhone, right? So iPhone is iterating all the time, and then you got like, for example, they launched this iPhone C that they had different colors, and it was a failure because people didn't want an iPhone who was cheaper. People like the iPhone because it's luxurious, it's made of metal, and blah, blah, blah. So you have to be considering who is your custom target and how you're gonna be doing it. At the same time, what you need to be doing is testing your market. Don't just, we know that hardware is hard and you have to build a lot of stuff. So what you need to do is get some focus groups. Bring some people to your offices or go and talk to them. It's like, hey, look, I got this product. Do you want to try it? Yeah, sure. You can observe them. Ask them if you can record them. See how easy it is for them, if they like it, the faces they make, everything. So you understand who your market is and what they want to do it. Thank you very much. If you got more questions, please, there's my email. There's also Simon's email. We'll be happy to answer any questions. And thank you so much, everybody.